All right, hi everyone. We can get started here. Thank you all for coming. Today we have Vic Cronan, Stephanie Hales, and Morgan Claybrooks from Communication Across the Curriculum. They are presenting on Know Your Client, how to best support clients from all backgrounds. If you need captions, you can adjust at the bottom of the menu bar. Without further ado, I can pass it over to you all.
Hi everyone. My name is Vic.
My name is
I'm
Morgan.
Stephanie, and we are with LSU Communication Across Curriculum. LSU Communication Across Curriculum, or CXC. Our goal is to help students improve their communication skills through classes, through support such as tutoring, which we're going to be talking about today, and resources. So today we are going to be talking about knowing your clients and how to best support clients from all backgrounds. And so what this is going to mean is we got 3 things on the agenda today. First thing is we're going to be talking about how to meet clients where they are. Then after that, we'll be talking about client navigation. So in session, what things can you do? And then we are going to do breakout groups and have different scenarios that implement what we've learned about today. So first things first, in order to best help clients, we got to meet the clients where they are. And to first do that, you have to know how to be self-aware as a tutor. So what this means is you have to be aware of both the abilities that you have and also the knowledge. So talking about your awareness for abilities, what skills have you learned or have you been taught? As a tutor, you may be specifically a tutor for subjects. You may specifically be a tutor for our sake, we are writing tutors, so we may talk a lot about writing today in relation to what we do. So what are things you've learned in training? What are things you may have learned in professional development? And even just on your own with experience, what do you know? How do you do your job? And with knowing your job, you also have to know what are the limitations of your job. So for example, you can't just give the answers to the students. For us, we can't edit papers. But what are things that students may expect you to do that you are not able to do to help them? And so additionally, knowing what you can do and what you can't do, what are your strengths and weaknesses? What do you feel like you may excel at? And what are things that you may find that you need more opportunity to grow in and develop in as a tutor and as helping students? So once you know what you can and can't do, you got to know what you know. So in this case, what topics do you have a lot of knowledge in? So if you are a specific tutor for a specific subject, you may know a lot about biology, you may know a lot about math. For us, we know a lot about writing. We may be stronger in some areas than others, like as English, or like maybe specified on history. But what do you know? And then additionally, what are things you're less confident in? If someone were to come to you and be like, I am working on this right now, I need help with this, you may need to ask that student more questions, or you feel like you may need to research a little bit about it if you have information beforehand. So things that, like back to that strengths and weaknesses, your strengths and weaknesses and topics. And additionally, what do you want to learn? Like, what are things you just want to gain more knowledge in and just have more abilities to learn about?
All right, thank you, Vic. So today I'm actually going to talk to you guys about supporting students from different backgrounds. So it's important to understand one's culture and the culture of the student when it comes to their learning, how that can impact their learning. So as an educator, you're going to see a diverse range of students. That can mean their gender, their race, their sexuality, their religion. You're gonna see international students, and some even have multiple backgrounds. It's important to create a safe space for those students because they're already anxious. They're dealing with like not knowing how to ask questions, not knowing what questions to ask, asking a dumb question, or just not knowing what they need in general. So in order to create a safe space and to do that and to build their trust, you want to foster dialogue. Let them talk about themselves, get to know them, let them get to know you a little bit. Establish yourself as their ally. Let them understand that you're here to help them. And when you've done that, once they're comfortable, they'll be able to ask you their real questions. And that way you can get to the root of the problem they're having with their assignments. When it comes to providing that feedback, the culture that they come from can influence the type of communication they prefer and the delivery of your feedback. So today I'm actually going to talk about 3 different types of communication, right? Linear, spiral, and circular communication. With linear communication, that's more straightforward and to the point. So that can look like, this is incorrect. Or with spiral communication, that can take time to get to the point. So that can look like, almost, maybe, let's try this. And then circular communication is when you're just really implying the meaning. And that can look like, what are your other options? And it's best to assess it's best to assess the individual needs of the client and then provide support based on that. Yeah, and also it's based off of the assignment as well. So now we're going to get into talking about those assignments and talking about their culture and how you can do that with their assignments. So if it's possible, allow your students to use their identities to express themselves. And that can mean suggesting them possibilities like in their assignments being like, yeah, you can actually talk about this particular subject, or you can talk about this subject, or you can relate their background to the support you provide. And depending on the discipline, your communication style can change with that. So there are some subjects that might not necessarily use like their culture. That can be like, for example, like a science communication course, right? You're not going to necessarily be able to use like their culture when they're doing that because that's more direct. With science communication, you might be using third person rather than first person. And so that's not going to be something that you would be using. But in the assignments that you can do that, try. But students are here to learn. So they probably are uncomfortable with the assignment that they're doing. And they really are just trying to get it done. But if they're passionate about what they're writing, then they're more likely to do it well. And that can help them internalize the information better. So with those assignments that I was talking about, sorry, I lost my train of thought. With the assignments that I was talking about, science writing, sorry, never mind, don't worry about it. Go ahead, Stephanie, go ahead, let's go.
Okay. Students come from all different types of backgrounds to our studio, and we need to make sure that we meet all of those needs, not just their societal position, but also meeting students with helping students with disabilities and accommodating for those. As people in a position to help, we need to understand disabilities in order to accommodate them. So I wanted to start with learning disabilities. This can be ADHD, dyslexia, auditory processing disorder, and a lot of other ones. However, I won't say that it's all encompassing because obviously there are a lot of things that students struggle with. This is a short list of things that writing mentors can do specifically to help these sorts of students. Again, this list is not all encompassing, but it is some of the more important tips and tricks that I felt to point out. So obviously, first and foremost, ask the student about their strengths and weaknesses. A student who has learning disabilities will tell you what their issues are and how you can help them. But automatically assuming that a student needs your help or accommodations can put the student in an awkward position. So we want to make sure to first ask the student about their strengths and weaknesses. And in this question, they can actually tell us how we can help them. Some overall accommodations that we can make, however, are if they do tell us that they have those struggles, is reviewing material over and over. Repetition does help the brain fully process what the assignment is. Highlighting key points and concepts. Break down lengthy concepts or assignments into shorter segments. Pause between ideas or concepts to allow time for processing. Speak slowly and clearly and repeat directions/concepts or explanations. Ask questions to check for understanding and make sure that you check for understanding frequently. Have the student teach you. This allows the student to hear themselves explain the concepts and better understand them themselves. And lastly, conducting your tutoring session in a quiet location without distraction. This way, the student can actually fully focus on what you are working on. Outside of learning disabilities, students also have to deal with a lot of physical disabilities. So the two that I'm talking about are deaf or hard of hearing students and blind or low vision students. Obviously, there are many more physical disabilities that students at LSU have to go through. However, these are the two most prevalent that I felt to touch on. And again, obviously, this isn't all encompassing, but here are some general tips and tricks on how to help students and accommodate for these sorts of students. Starting with deaf students, these students who are deaf or hard of hearing have preferred forms of communication. They may rely on American Sign Language, ASL, or they may use visual cues and lip reading to communicate. So you can trust the student to tell you how they want you to help them. But again, here are just general tips. Make sure that you have the student's attention before speaking. This could be tapping the student on the shoulder or waving or a wave of your hand to get the student's attention. When you are speaking to the student, face them directly and avoid blocking your mouth by paper, your hands, a computer, anything like that. You want to make sure they have a full view of your mouth. Speak the same way to these sorts of students as you would to any other student. A lot of them lip read. And if you try to over exaggerate your mouth movements, it can actually make it more difficult for them to understand you than if you just spoke to them like you would speak to any other student. Use visual aids to support what was said. This can be pointing to a page so that the student understands the concept of your speech, or so on. The student may struggle with writing if their first language is ASL, because ASL does not include many spoken English words. Therefore, students who have this as a first language may have the same difficulties as any other student who's studying English as a second language. Moving on to blind or low vision students, similar to deaf students, they may have adjustments already that you should be prepared to work with and work through disability services. If a student has low vision, use big, bold letters when writing something down. Also make sure to watch your contrast because some students may have difficulty reading words on different backgrounds or different colors. If you refer to information that is provided, like a book or a sheet of paper or computer, read the information to the student. Rich verbal descriptions are extremely important, so we want to make sure to verbalize everything you write down or read. This could be describing pictures, illustrations, graphs, always in detail. We want to use very specific language, avoid vague terms or phrases such as that chair over there. And also make sure to encourage the student to let you know if your description is too vague or if they're having difficulty understanding. Overall, these do help make the process easier and make communication between the student and the teacher or tutor or mentor more manageable. Outside of disabilities, I also wanted to talk about knowledge gaps between students. This is an inequality in educational content between students and society, leading to a difference in the level of knowledge between students. This could be based on societal impacts or where the region that they grew up in, but it is very prevalent that students who go to the same classes have very different knowledge and very different understandings of things. And as mentors, we need to acknowledge that they may not know what we think is obvious and vice versa. So ways of reducing knowledge gaps. Firstly, we want to acknowledge that regardless of the different mental abilities among students, it's important to combat prejudice to ensure that our students, no matter who they are, receive the best education we can give them. Ways of doing this are through feedback. We can identify weaknesses and know the aspects that need improvement. We can make accommodations without judgments for students who may not understand an assignment or concept. This can be done through a lot of the methods that I spoke about with the learning disabilities, breaking things down into multiple sections or repeating yourself repeatedly in order to help a student better understand what the concept is that they're struggling with. You can apply multiple different and effective learning methods such as remedial lessons, research projects, constructive discussions, etc. And lastly, we always want to make sure to encourage student self-learning to develop school skills outside of the classroom, outside of the writing center, because we can't do everything. And if the student genuinely does have a knowledge gap that they need to correct, it is ultimately up to them. And we are just here to try to help.
All right. So now that we have talked about just getting to know your client and being able to things that are important to consider whenever talking with them, let's talk about how to navigate that whenever you are in session with a client. So one of the most important things when just being aware of how is the client responding? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Is looking at their nonverbal communication. So with identifying a client's nonverbal communication, you can monitor how are they receiving and feeling about that feedback without just verbally saying, yes, I get it. No, I don't get it. And so with this includes things like facial expressions. So with facial expressions being like, does that person look frustrated? Are their eyebrows furrowed together? Are they smiling? Or even are they really just paying attention? And so additionally, movements and gestures. So this can be just as simple as nodding, yes, I'm nodding, I'm listening to you right now. This can be It could be a thumbs up. It can be some of the with some of the hand gestures and movements that are currently in the image right now. So just how are they moving? Are they really moving? And additionally, with that movement, how are they sitting? So this can kind of vary based on location. So with posture, you gotta like, are they looking relaxed? Are they like leaning back? Are they like focused and like leaning forward? Are their arms crossed together? Are they kind of like closed off? Are they open and listening? And additionally, are they facing you? Because most of the time, if someone is facing you or like is like slightly facing you, for example, I'm facing Morgan, that means that they're most likely attentive and that they're listening to the feedback that you're providing. And also just tone, along with just the verbal words how they're giving you. Are they being quiet? Are they being how are they saying the words? Are they frustrated? Are they still unsure? Just like catching the tone of their voice to be like, even if they like, does this person have questions? Are they really getting what I'm putting down? Stuff like that. And so also with just space and mode, are you in a digital space right now? For example, we're on Zoom, which makes things a little bit more difficult because you can't see the person's full body and there may be some delays with things like internet and stuff like that. So that may affect the nonverbal communication and how they proceed, because some people are more comfortable on Zoom than they would be in person and vice versa. And additionally, whenever thinking about all this, you do have to think about things like background and like, if you by chance know like culture and heritage and stuff like that, because that can affect how likely a person is to like show nonverbal communication and what kind of nonverbal communication they may present to you. And so in addition to nonverbal communication, how are they just responding to the feedback you're giving them? Like I said before with tone, are they being soft or loud, right? Normal tone? Are they being affirmative? Is it unsure? Are they really giving much feedback within to it? And so with verbal responses, what kind of feedback are they giving? Are they just being like, okay, and like that's about it? Or are they like giving more details, being like, yeah, so I have a concern right here, and right here. I don't know about this topic. I have questions about this. How much feedback are they providing into it? And additionally, do they have any questions? As you're watching their body language and nonverbal communication, are they showing any like physical signs of confusion or maybe just not understanding what's happening? And with this, are they just like, it's about definitely being like, do you have any questions? Are you understanding this? Trying to once again get that person to like respond back to you like, okay, what have we talked about so far? How are we feeling about it? Stuff like that. And also, are they just responding? Are they showing interest in it? How do we making sure to engage that client's interest in it? Whether they are just here because their professor is like, I'm just here because my professor told me to be here, or are they here because they're like, I need help and I don't know where to start. And so with that, just the actions of the person, are they taking control? And of our case, are they taking control of the paper? Are they taking control of the exercises, or are they expecting you to lead along? And this can really depend on the type of communication that you are doing with them so far and the activity that you're doing with them. So even if you're the one giving feedback at the time, are they writing down notes? Are they highlighting if needed? Are they writing things out and explaining things to them? Or are they just like, nope, you got this, I'm gonna stay here, we're good? And so are they just engaged in the feedback? Are they really asking, like once again, asking questions, definitely making sure that they understand what you are saying to them so that you can help them grow as a student and help them grow just academically and personally in getting skills that they want.
Okay, lastly, we want to talk about student motivation. As Writing Center professionals, we see daily how students' perspectives about writing drive their motivation to write, and these drives become habits and practices which they ingrain into their process. So encouraging students to connect with their writing and to understand who they are as writers helps them to nurture their writing skills. As a mentor becomes more familiar with the student's motivations, we can better determine an effective course of action within the tutoring session. So I broke this down into 3 main parts on how to motivate a student, starting with identity, which obviously we've already talked a lot about. But I want to talk about how it has an effect on motivation. So obviously your identity is what group you view yourself to be a part of. This could be a disability, culture, race, religion, etc. But a person's identity impacts their interests and motivation in writing as well. Their prior academic experiences also make up their identity as a student, which can connect to their sense of self. Their identity encourages their interests in writing and showing their unique perspective of the world. So a student who writes about something that they identify with is more likely to be motivated and actually write their paper than a student who's just doing it for a grade. Next is perspective. This is in this scenario, we're going to view it as what a person believes or sees themselves as. This has a large impact on self-efficacy, a student's system of goals, and their confidence. So if a student has a skewed perspective of their strengths, they could overwork themselves and burn out, or vice versa. If they undershoot it, they can also create a very poor project or paper. An understanding of what kind of student you are helps to form what your system of goals should be. Therefore, improving your self-efficacy or self-perception of your abilities and overall confidence can help with your performance in writing and projects. Lastly, I want to talk about interactions, whether through your professors or writing mentors like us. The ultimate purpose of a writing mentor is not to change a student's motivational framework, but to broaden and deepen it in order to help students see the complexity of choices they have as writers. Because of the complexity of writing, student writers likely won't improve their writing competence in a single session. But through our support, we can help them gain answers to the questions that they brought to us when they came to the Writing Center and help them consider their writing practices. This will eventually help to evolve their writing competence.
And so that's what we have for now for content. Do y'all have any questions for us? We'll give a chance for people that may need to type. And then these are also our references that we have. Nope, go backwards. Or if y'all have any questions as we do the scenarios, we can also answer those for y'all at the end. Okay. So, oh, we have a comment. What are some strategies you use to put new sessions at ease in their session?
So
Yeah, this.
for new clients, I really just try to, like I said earlier, try to establish that trust. If there's something that I can connect with them with, like maybe they have a sticker on their computer from a show that they like, or just find something to connect with them. And that's how I would start with that. You always want to start with establishing that sense of trust, and then they'll feel comfortable around you enough to ask the questions that they do have.
I always like to start a session with a basic introduction, especially if it's a new face in the studio. Just walking up to them and saying, "Hi, I'm Stephanie. It's nice to meet you. What are we looking at? What are we working on?" Using we pronouns and just introducing yourself in a very common and natural way, I feel like helps dissolve some of the concerns students have and some of the walls that they build up between tutor and client.
Yeah. And I think it works especially because we're also students. So they have that, they see us as peers. So we have a little bit more of a, it's a little bit easier for them to get comfortable with us in that way.
Any other questions? All right.
Ready, let's get into
So,
scenarios.
yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Getting this going. All right. So
Yeah, so we have 3 different scenarios, and we just want you guys to come up with what you would do, and then we'll go into breakout groups and talk about it. So our first scenario is a student who is anxious about their project, and they're having trouble with calming down and focusing on the help that they are getting. And then we have a student who needs more help than what they're equipped to give, or what we're equipped to give. But they still expect you to give them the help that they need. And then you also have a student who needs to write a traditional English paper, but the writing style is heavily influenced by their cultural slang.
y'all are gonna be put into 3 different breakout rooms. The top left one is gonna be breakout room number 1. The one on the top right is breakout room number 2, and then the one on the bottom in the middle is gonna be breakout room number 3. I'm gonna give y'all a second to just take a photo, write this down, get this together, and if you guys forget, you can either just hop back into the main group or send a message to either me or Stephanie being like, hey, I'm in this group. What's the scenario that we're talking about today? So yeah. I am going to go ahead and move this. I'm going to go ahead and put those breakout rooms going. Yeah. Breakout rooms. And then those should be open now. And Stephanie, you can just not join.
What if I don't want to go to breakout room number 1?
Then you don't gotta go to breakout room number 1. It's 3:26, so we can pull them back in at like 3:35. Like give some like 10-ish minutes.
Okay. Sarah, you didn't want to participate?
Sarah's the one that's in charge of. She's the
Yeah, but still.
You want to come participate? We can.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean-
sure. Why not?
You can join number 3. They only have 2 people.
Wait, which scenario is that one?
That's the traditional English paper, but like
Okay.
writing style is heavily influenced by slang.
Gotcha.
I knew she was the person in charge. I just thought she might want to participate. It's a fun
That's fair.
workshop.
We had a lot. It looked like we had a lot more people at first, and then I think I said we're going breakout rooms, and they all left.
That's hilarious. They're just like me.
They're just like students for real, for real.
They're just like us.
I had to participate.
Participate in this.
That's funny.
They're only with one other person, so I have a feeling they're just typing back and forth.
Just so you know, every time your mouse has been on the screen, I've been holding my mouse's hand to your mouse's hand like the whole time.
Oh,
It's like
Every time you move it, I'm like,
you're
wait,
right
no,
here
come
with
back.
us. I think we did a good job.
I think we did
we did
great.
it. Oh my god, Ash posted me on their story.
Oh my god. Ah, sucks a suck.
You're on it too.
Wait, from this session?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
Christina was at the window whenever I was starting. I don't know if you could tell that I was about to giggle because I was like trying not to giggle because Christina's in the window with her phone up like that. Like
Jeez.
Oh,
Oh, that's cute.
cute.
Let me just go into base camp and respond to things.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I can't believe you're doing that in session.
Yeah.
In your presentation.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
We're not doing anything right now.
No.
I have a today slot? Oh, that's what she said.
What's
Hey, don't pick on the sick person. That's mean.
What does broadcast mean?
What do you mean?
There's a thing on our side that's like I've
It
never.
means talk amongst all of the rooms, so
Mhm.
don't do that.
Don't press that.
It means like, so we're talking
Can you
now. If
broadcast?
we broadcast, they can all hear us.
Don't press that.
Press it towards the end when you're saying, hey guys, you got about 5 minutes left.
That's soon.
What
That's
time
in
did
a
we say we
minute.
start back again?
3:35. Because technically they said this ends at 3:45 now. So we got 5 less minutes.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine.
That's fine. They've,
I'm surprised at how.
they've had some good chit chat time.
I didn't think that was gonna give us as much. I didn't think we were gonna, I thought we were gonna have too little time. I thought we spoke too.
I thought I was looking at time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking too much.
Yeah, I thought we were talking too fast.
And I was like, oh nope, we're good, okay.
I'm kind of salty because there was a part in the back that I was trying to get, but I was like, it's not coming. I'm just gonna go on and go. I
Mhm.
was like,
You're just like,
Stephanie.
you're like, go ahead. And I was like, I have a feeling you're just like, okay, I can't talk anymore.
Nope, nope, go ahead. Go ahead and go.
Morgan said, I'm done. Passing off the mic to Stephanie.
Mhm.
But everybody did good today. I'm proud of y'all.
We did good, we did
good.
this.
We did good.
We did it.
Proud of you guys too.
I'm gonna take a photo of us real quick.
Ah.
It's not to me.
Oh wait, no, Stephanie was not smiling. She was like,
Please.
Oh.
smile.
Are you gonna be at the aerials thing?
No, I will not. I am too sickly to function. However, you should still go because it will still be fun. And I told my friend Maddie you guys were going and to look out for you.
Okay.
Oh, Maddie's gonna be there?
Well, no, not the Maddie that comes into the studio, but my friend Maddie from Aerials, who's leading the whole thing. I was like, hey, I recruited a few new people to go to this, so watch out for my people since I cannot be there. And she said, will do. So you still gotta go.
Okay.
I can't
I was gonna
go.
go anyway, but okay, I go. I go.
I can't go because I leave here at 5, so
It starts at 5?
it starts at 4.
It ends at 5.
Mm,
Hello.
okay, fine.
Hello. Oh, and they're hopping back in. All right. All right, we're gonna close the room in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wanna broadcast it?
Can we broadcast it? I'll do that.
Okay.
So that's 8:34. Okay, we are closing up the rooms, so we're just gonna wait for everyone to get back. And then we're going to talk about basically what did y'all talk about, so. You're in a bit of a shock. Thank you, Christina. Okay, cool. So we have everyone back. All right, so either you can just verbally say this or you could type it in the chat, but like, what are some things that y'all talked about in y'all's groups? What are some considerations y'all had? Stuff like that. So y'all can, whoever wants to go first can go first and just say which group you were in and what your prompt was. Or you can type it in the chat if you can't unmute.
I'll go ahead. My name is Nicole Walker. I'm an academic coach at LSU. I was in breakout room 2, so we were talking about what you might do if a student needs more help than you are equipped to give them. And we talked about usually just providing them with resources, to kind of help with that shuffle, maybe sending like a follow-up email with all of the links to those resources or writing down next steps. But that's pretty much what we talked about. Just make sure, give them what you can, but give them the resources to get what they need as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you talked about doing like either a follow-up email or just like being able to like physically that they have like here are the resources, because it definitely, in my opinion, it definitely shows like, hey, we still care about you even though we can't fully help you. So love that. All right. What about group 1 or group 2? Either of y'all want to give feedback, or if you're in group 2 and you want to add something else onto it?
So I was in breakout room 1. So our scenario was the student is anxious about their project and having trouble calming down and focusing on the help they're getting. And we kind of talked about like making sure that the student is okay before we continue. I think like post-COVID mental health is like a really like top priority, and especially when you're working one-on-one with a student, it's super important. But then also like determining what is intimidating and like causing that anxiety, and then how we can break it down into smaller, more obtainable segments. And yeah, I don't know if Christina wants to add anything to that.
I think that was the bulk of what we talked about. We talked about feeling okay to hit the pause button in a consultation if someone is clearly not doing okay, and making sure that they get connected to resources that they might need.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
And then what about group 3?
Well, go ahead, Niles, if you want.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
All right, so we talked about a couple different things. I have a different background in the sense that I was a language educator for years and lived a lot outside the United States. So I like to approach the idea of like formal academic writing more as, recognizing that all the Englishes that are going to be spoken are valid Englishes, just variations of, but from the idea that in a formal academic paper, it's like learning to read and write a different language, specifically with vocabulary that's used, specifically with the register that we use, the level of formality in that setting. And nobody speaks that way, save for at conferences or through academic papers. And so we all have to go through this process of learning a different way to write and communicate, which is really different from how we do that in our daily lives. So that was part of the conversation that I had.
Yeah. That's something that we emphasize as well. Your audience is very, very important when it comes to your communication style. You wouldn't be talking to your mom the same way that you would talk to your professor or your doctor. So that's something that we emphasize in our meetings as well.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to talk about the scenarios or have anything else they want to discuss about this, or any questions about some of the scenarios that we had?
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So if no one has anything else to add, that is us. That is it for us today. If y'all want to give a little bit of feedback about how we did today, there's a session evaluation form that y'all can do. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for participating. We are glad y'all are here, and we hope y'all have a good day.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.